I'm gonna, in a nutshell, condense what's normally about an hour presentation into 15 quick minutes, just to give you an idea of another strategy for your office, whether you're an elected DA, whether you're a line prosecutor, an advocate, investigator. This is something that you could be interested in either starting or looking more into or developing your own team. It for smaller offices, a team concept may not be the right fit because there's just, you're a smaller office, but the training and the concept behind it will work. I come from a large office in San Bernardino. We're over 500 employees. We are about 220 lawyers. So we had the ability to form a smaller group of about 20 to become trained peer support leaders in our office. So just to give you a little background, it kind of developed, Chris encouraged me to write an article about it, which the ABA published maybe 2 years ago. And it was the 3 Ps, peer programs for prosecutors. So running through the concept really quick, I did everything. Kirsten's program really is amazing, that it came out of Little Missoula, Montana, and it's such a giant idea and such a great program. And that's what drew me to contacting her in the first place a few years back. Where did wellness in the attorney workplace come from? I was trained, I've been a prosecutor for 23 years, and I was trained to be a shark, to be a fighter pilot. And I believe that in trial, that's what we do, and our mission to seek justice. But in real life, we're not sharks, we're mammals. And we have warm blood, and we breathe and we bleed, and we have bruises to show it. And peer support teams are one way to start dealing with that. And Kirsten touched on it. In California now, it's well-being is part of competency, and that's not the case in all states, but the ABA in 2017 recommended that it should be, and they included recommendations for training, including peer teams. So if the rules of professional responsibility have been modified to include well-being within competency, that gives offices an opportunity to use some training funds and some other types of ways to delve into peer team training, developing teams, and so forth. So just quickly, where does the concept come from? It's primarily modeled after law enforcement, after first responders, EMTs, firefighters. A lot of cop shops have peer teams, and they're still developing those. The concept's very well known. That kind of originally comes from substance abuse, Alcoholics Anonymous, all different types of areas of recovery where peerness is acknowledged as a legitimate tool to use to delve through problems and issues. And we see it, in all areas now: diet, exercise, motivational, team building. During the pandemic, no one could get enough Peloton bikes. And, there's a lot of different riding bikes out there, but why was Peloton so popular? And part of it was because it had this peerness to it. It had an instructor. You could be in a class, you could be sharing the experience with other people, and that just promoted the popularity of the idea of you're not just in a room alone doing your exercise. The idea is we do need to build our resiliency in order to survive our stressful professions. And Kirsten touched on the resiliency skill building, which should be essential for any prosecutor to have. Our profession is a hypervigilant one. And so if you've never read Dr. Kevin Gilmartin's Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement, I'd really recommend it. He's a retired Tucson PD chief officer, and he's a PhD and goes around training on this. You'll notice a lot of similarities. No, we're not cops. No, we're not chasing bad guys down dark alleyways with guns. We're not running into burning buildings, but we pick up where they leave off, and we work with these victims for years and years, and are definitely subjected over and over again to a lot of difficult situations. So if we're providing hope to victims, we should provide hope to ourselves and to staff. And I say this from different perspectives. I've worked in each level. I've been a line prosecutor, trial lawyer. I've been an administrator. I've been in the management and executive system. So I come from both sides of the perspective of what an organization should be looking at as a strategy, and what line staff really do need in order to do this job for the long haul and have the mental fitness to do so. In 2020, the President's Commission on Law Enforcement actually identified prosecutors, investigators, and victim advocates as criminal justice partners who are regularly exposed to traumatic situations that negatively affect their resiliency. And they identified peer support as one of the strategies that should be funded and used by offices. And this is the general idea of peerness, the mutuality between persons seeking help and promoting connection and inspiring hope. Every person, what do we all seek acceptance, understanding, and validation. And that's just, and that can be a range of interactions and activities. And the idea is that it's, like cops trust cops. Prosecutors generally would trust other prosecutors because we understand the same experience. Lots of people are reluctant to ask for help. We're, lawyers, we're tough and we're problem solvers and we aren't complainers and we argue our cases. And so some people just, for whatever reasons, will not, they're embarrassed. They don't want to be weak. They don't want to worry about their job. We have egos, afraid of the stigma, not sure what to do. And some people I get all the time is, well, what is this? This is so touchy-feely. It sounds like you're all in a circle holding hands. And every time there's a problem, you're telling people they have to hug. I'm not saying that. This is actually the opposite of touchy-feely. It's like really hard stuff to build tight resilience, and it takes a lot of practice and effort. So it's not the warm fuzzy. I mean, it can be. I mean, certainly if you can get a massage and take a bath and do things that make you feel better, and that's good, but that's not really the concept of what peer support is. So real quickly, just to touch on it, a program, I became the coordinator in 2015. We're definitely not the only office in the United States that has a peer support team. There are others that have very good programs, but it's certainly not the majority. A peer support program offers assistance and appropriate resources to employees, whether it's a personal or professional problem that negatively affects their work performance, their family, or themselves. And the assistance is confidential, providing it doesn't violate any laws or office policies. Big asterisk here. Can't go into it all now, but there's lots of areas of confidentiality that we could always discuss. Some states have specific legal guidelines that are codified regarding confidentiality and requirements for peer teams. California happens to be one of them. About half the states do have specific statutes we do in our government code that really does help. It provides a lot of protection and direction for your peer support teams. How it works is you get a group together. These are regular folks, it's people in your office from all different levels that provide emotional support during times of professional or personal crisis to those who express a need or are unknowingly have a need. It does promote trust. It allows anonymity in most situations, and you create the guidelines for what you want your program to look like. And it's a link. It's a way. It's special training for some people in your office so that they can say, I need to refer you to a mental health person. I need to refer you to a substance abuse place. I need to refer you, so you can get people the professional assistance that they need. It's really more of a bridge. You want to maintain an effective training and response program. You can help those who've been through tragedies, check on people who've been out ill, and so forth. We use the Counseling Team International, Dr. Nancy Bowles-Penrod. COVID created a whole new layer. I mean, Kirsten's talked about the stuff we've all dealt with: heavy caseloads, high volume, not very great pay all the time, a lot of stress, judges yelling at us, all those types of stressors that have always been there, the difficult, challenging, emotional cases. But COVID brought, a whole new bag with illness and quarantines and home parent schooling and not a lot of interpersonal contact and the distancing and people who've lost family members and loved ones and been ill themselves, and the obsessive social media and the public scrutiny, the vaccines, the fear. I mean, there's been so many things that have gone on that peer support just jumped in our office. Why do people kind of seek out peers? Well, sometimes they don't necessarily trust the management. They might fear that it's going to reflect poorly on their work performance, and they're very comfortable with somebody maybe at their own level. And they want to talk about everything. People have, like Kirsten touched to in one of her other programs, is people have a whole lot going on in their lives: finances, their marriage, their relationships. Perhaps they're struggling with alcohol or drugs, all kinds of things. And peer support is training people, giving them skills so that they can learn how to listen without judgment, how they can be an active listener, how they can just sit and give someone the time without looking at their phone, without doing something else and multitasking, without saying, oh yeah, I went through that too, let me tell you all about it. Just really being that non-judgmental ear. And that requires some skill and training as well. It's not as easy as it sounds. You absolutely, to put together a team, if you're an elected out there, we have to have your support. And you do need support from the administration in order to do that. That's very important, to show that leadership from the top is supportive of training people and providing these services to employees, any employee in the office that needs it. And you have to have someone who's willing to lead or coordinate the team, to create a selection process. You have to provide basic peer support training for the members. And then you have to educate the office on what it is. And believe me, it takes a while. At first, people are very not sure of what it is and how to trust it, but eventually it becomes an amazing tool and bridge for people. And you create your own guidelines. You have people, where are we?
5-minute warning. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to rush. But what I really want you to get out of it is there's a lot of great training that's available, and people that are interested in doing this. You want a diverse, inclusive team that includes what your office looks like and what people can relate to. That's the idea. You pick people that are responsible and well respected, that people would talk to. And you should include, these are the types of skills and trainings that everybody needs, right? I mean, suicide prevention and active listening and grief support and all the types of things that we all really do need sometimes. Confidentiality is a unique area in its own, but it's essential for a program to work, so long as, you know, we all have our mandatory reporter duties. You can't keep something confidential. Someone's committing crimes, abusing someone, harm to themselves or others, suicidal. So there's always going to be exceptions. And there's all these different areas of training that you can do, you know, exactly what Kirsten talked about, the secondary trauma and the compassion fatigue, critical stress management, just the things to help people get through so that they can last in our industry and not get burnt out and frustrated. And you do find that people do that after they've been at the job a while. You know, you schedule your meetings, you keep statistics so you know if it's being used and how it's being used, you determine how your team's going to work, and then you create the parameters. So we're not counselors, we're not therapists, we're not mental health professionals. We're just trained to listen, to assess the situation, offer that ear, and then refer if necessary. And you need a place to refer to. What are the resources in your community? Do you have a EAP? Do you have counseling services that you could send people to that are confidential, that they could go directly to? They don't want to talk to someone in the office. And then you have to have a record keeping system. We do all kinds of things, you know, the sympathy baskets and cards, things that your offices probably already do, but it's really coordinated and it's often done behind the scenes. And we follow up with people. That seems to fall behind, you know, everyone kind of rallies around when there's an immediate problem or crisis, and then people have to go back to their regular lives and duties. And peer supporters are there to continue to check in, to continue to follow up. We can offer support to our local law enforcement when they go through tragedies and shootings and so forth. Peer supporters are a great way for an admin to hear what's going on. I mean, I don't mean secrets. I just mean, what are the morale issues? What are the concerns employees are really having? And can encourage that it's a priority in this office. It's also a great way to informally resolve some conflict before it gets out of hand. I can tell you the people on our team feel very empowered when they're helping others. They feel trusted. I've had people who've, you know, left the team, gone on to become judges or retired or gone into other areas and said, I learned skills that I brought home to my marriage, to my family, to my neighbors, to my community. And this has helped me tremendously as a person and in my job as well, to learn to stay calm, to learn to manage the stress, to learn to deal with things that are adverse and or I didn't expect to happen, but then it did happen. And it gives you a sense of purpose beyond, you know, we're paid to go in and do our job, but this really does provide a little bit more. The whole theme really for a peer support team, along with many of these other concepts, is that a well prosecutor is a competent prosecutor. And, you know, the public looks at us with great scrutiny. We're seen as the gatekeepers of this system of criminal justice. And if an attorney feels emotionally supported by their admin and they're trained to manage their stress, they're a better reasoned and more capable decision maker and will exercise that good judgment and discretion that the public expects of us and are often very critical and judgmental of us. The whole goal,
a minute left.
You got it, is helping people so we can continue to serve the people, whether you serve your county, your commonwealth, your whatever your jurisdiction is. And it should be doing what's good for your prosecutors and staff. I'm going to thank all of you. I know during COVID, there was all different types of things about being in storms and boats. I kind of blended them together and said, we're all in the same storm, not always in the same boat, but many of us sail in the same turbulent waters and need a harbor in the tempest. And I challenge anyone to say that that's not true sometimes for yourself. Here's my contact information. You're welcome to contact me anytime for any reason on this. And I look forward to listening to the rest of the presentations and doing the breakout session. So thank you.